everybody. We're so excited today to be here for another really fun podcast. I have my friend Rob from the MovieRob blog that has been on my podcast twice before. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Twice, maybe three times. I don't even remember.
So this is so much fun. And thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Oh, thanks for inviting me. It's always fun to be invited, especially, when we get to talk about so many interesting things about movies.
Right. Yeah. I always really like talking to people that especially have seen a lot. And I don't think anybody has seen more movies than you. It's so impressive.
No.
At least that I know.
Okay, that's something else that you personally know you're saying.
It's very impressive. Why don't you tell everybody what you're about to accomplish on your
well, next week or this week, depending on when this is posted. Let's put it this way.
Yeah.
On the 24th of February, which is the day of this year's Oscars, I plan on posting my 5,000th movie review since I started my site almost 6 years ago.
That is amazing.
Yeah, especially since most of them, or a very large portion of them, are films that I've never seen before.
Yeah,
that's the fun of it all. I
mean,
based on my current tracking of it, I would say that 3/5 of the movies, 60% of the movies are ones that I've never seen before.
That is really impressive. So what do you think that you gain from seeing so many and getting to kind of compare and contrast and see just such a depth of classics and new movies and all of that?
It gives me such a great overview of the history of film.
Yeah.
I mean, as you sort of pointed out here, I mean, I've seen movies that have come out over the last 100 years. We're not talking about, there are a lot of people who have blogs that they devote them just to new movies or whatever, but I devote them to every movie that I watch. It doesn't matter if it's, I love watching, new releases, but I also love watching old stuff that I've either never seen or haven't seen in a long time. So I wanted to refresh my memory and stuff like that. So it's always fun, and there's a lot of diversity. When I watch, I rarely will watch movies back to back that are similar. They're usually very, very different. I could watch a silent movie, and then watch, an action movie, or watch a comedy, and then watch something that's sci-fi, or in those rare occasions, either foreign language or horror movies, because those are the two themes that I prefer that I try to stay away from. But I've been expanding my horizons over the last year with those, and I've seen a lot more horror and foreign language films, just to be able to give myself and my site a bit more diversity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to this year as well, because I got added to Rotten Tomatoes this year, which was surreal. And so I'm trying to have a well-rounded catalog, I guess, of reviews. So this year I'm trying to see more of things out of my comfort zone. So we'll see. I kind of started at Sundance. I went to a couple. I just finished Sundance, which was amazing. And I went to a couple that were a little out of my comfort zone, and it was a really fun experience. So,
and did you like them?
I liked one of them. I didn't like the other. So that's pretty fair. I went and saw a Blumhouse production movie called Sweetheart, which was really good. It's a monster movie. So those tend to not bother me as far as horror movies as much as other, like, I don't really like ones with like murderers and stalkers and stuff like that. But if it's like a monster or an alien or whatever, like, that's enough sort of far removed for me that I tend to be a little bit more, it's more of a fantasy kind of experience, I feel like, than something that feels real that could really happen. And so I liked it. It was good. It's about this girl who gets stranded on a desert island, and there's this creature that's there that's kind of hunting her down, and she has to fight off this creature. And it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. And then I saw the exceedingly wicked, shockingly vile, shockingly evil and vile, which was about Ted Bundy, and with Zac Efron. And it was a big talked about movie of the festival. And I appreciate the risks they took, but in the end, it didn't really work for me. And it wasn't really because it was scary, because it really wasn't. But I just felt like they were kind of making him into be this kind of the hero of the movie, which was just weird for me. And I get that they were trying to sort of portray that like this person looks like somebody you want to root for, but is actually bad. Like that was sort of that was the scary part in their eyes. But I felt like they went too far with that. Like, I'm like, are they trying to portray this as an underdog story? Like, this is weird. I don't know. So I didn't end up caring for it, but I can see why other people will like it. It just wasn't for me. So anyway, it was but I've just been trying to just push myself a little bit this year. So we'll see how it continues to go. I'm really excited. I see you got to watch The Best Years of Our Lives, which is kind of a buck.
That's one of my favorite movies. I've seen that so many times.
Oh, you see it 10 times, it looks like, at least.
At least, yeah. I love that film. And I saw it by accident the first time.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, oh, God, a 3-hour Oscar movie. I don't know if I really want to watch that. And then I watched it, and I absolutely fell in love with it. And, I mean.
Yeah, I'm really excited because it's on I have it as one of my blind spot picks this year. Each month I do a blind spot review of a classic that I haven't seen. And so I finally going to check it off the list because it is so long. You know, I just have been putting it off, but I know I'll like it, so I just need to do it. And I'm really excited to finally watch it.
Well, I look forward to hearing what you think about it.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So
we can talk about that if you want one time.
Yeah, that would be fun. That would actually be really fun. So in the last 1,000, because last time we talked to you, you were at the 4,000. What do you think were some surprises, maybe some hidden gems you can tell the listeners about that they should check out?
Okay. In absolutely no random order. In a random order.
Yeah.
The first one is Bright Victory.
Oh.
Which is a movie with Arthur Kennedy from 1951, where he was actually nominated for Best Actor. And he plays a soldier who has to deal with the fact that he loses his sight. And I thought it was just a great portrayal, and it really showed me what type of great actor Arthur Kennedy can be. I mean, he was mostly a supporting actor through most of his career, but this was one of the few films where he was the lead, and he did such a great job with it. And I was very, very pleasantly surprised at how enjoyable it was. Another one is M, which is from 1931. It was a German film. I don't want to give away too much about it, but it's about, you know, someone trying to find this this man who's done some very despicable acts. Basically it's about the police trying to catch a child murderer, and they end up getting the criminal element of the city to help, because they don't want to be seen as you know, people who are willing to agree with what he's doing. So I found that an interesting film.
I don't think I've ever seen a foreign film that old before. You said it was.
Yeah, it was from 1931.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, it's very good. I've seen, I think one. I've seen two that are older.
That's cool.
I've seen what's the one with Max Schreck? All right, I'll look that up while we're talking about other things. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, I think that's his name. That was one that I saw. One I was thinking about before was Nosferatu, which is basically a Dracula themed film that was from 1922. That was also German. And the other one is from 1920, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which is like a fantasy
I feel like
film.
I've heard of both of those, but I haven't seen them. So
Yeah, they're very. I'm surprised you've never heard of M, because that's also these are the older the much older movies that I come across are usually ones that I've heard talk about, and not just random things that I come across.
I'm glad to see you liked. I Remember Mama, because I love that movie. I think that one's a hidden gem.
I like that.
People don't know
I loved it, but I liked it. I like the way that they did that.
I love the book. The book is very very charming and really really sweet, and so I thought they did a pretty good job with the movie, and so yeah.
All right. Okay. And just two more that I wanted to mention.
Yeah, please.
Before I started my blog, I wasn't really a fan of documentaries, and I've become a big fan of documentaries ever since. And for my 4800th review, so I did a marathon, and I watched all 7, I believe, if I remember correctly, movies in the documentary series.
Which documentary series?
It's called the Up documentary series.
Oh, they're so good, right?
The Seven Up documentary series.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I think there are 8. Sorry, there have been 8, and the 9th is coming out. Maybe, you know what? I'm confused. Maybe it's 7, and then the 8th will be coming.
Let's see. The last one was 56 Up. So
but they didn't start when they were 0. They started when they were. So they've done 7.
They started when they were 7. That's the first one.
No, sorry, they've done 8. All right, now I'm.
Yeah.
Okay,
You're right.
When they were 7, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49, and 56, and this year the 63 will be coming out. I can't wait to see that one. So, just for people who aren't familiar with it, it's a very interesting documentary series that basically interviewed. It started in 1964, where they interviewed, I think, 13 kids, 14. And the idea was to see how things would change in their lives and their perspective on things over the years. And every 7 years, they revisit these kids who, as of the last movie, they're all 56.
Yeah.
And it was just the first. I didn't really like the first 3. I can say I didn't find them as fascinating. But once they turned 28, and they also changed the format a little bit, where they were, for the first ones, they were asking a question and showing the answers of all the kids.
Right.
What they did was they ended up starting to just interview each of them for their entire segment.
Yeah.
So you're watching each segment all together. So people who like documentaries this is also before they even started reality TV.
Yeah.
And it was so fascinating.
Yeah.
Watching these people grow up in front of my eyes. Now, obviously, it's a different experience for people who've been watching it every 7 years and having to wait 7 years to watch them, as opposed to a period of a few days watching these 7-year-old kids all grow up to be 56. But I was fascinated by what they did with this series.
Yeah, it is.
The second.
Excellent. I completely agree with you. I love it. I think the reason why, at least for me, the 28 is where it really starts to get amazing is you see so many dramatic life changes between and what the people wanted when they were 21, especially Susie, because she goes from being this chain smoking, that she's not interested in men. She's like, just very belligerent, and then in 28 Up, she is married and has kids. It's like so different. It's amazing.
Right.
It's just incredible to watch. And it is amazing to see how much of what they said in that very first one of what they wanted and what they wanted to do down to like just little things are come to fruition. It's really an
Correct.
interesting thing. Yeah. I
No, so
agree.
the thing with the series is I can't say that each of the movies themselves are spectacular, but when you're looking at the whole
Together.
thing as a whole, that's what really ups, no pun intended, really raises everything up even higher, and that's what's so fascinating about it.
Do you have a
Because
favorite
you really
of all of them?
know these people. I'm sorry?
Do you have a favorite of all of the one that interests you the most of all of them?
Of the people or
Yeah,
the
the people.
series? Yes. I'm trying to remember his name though. The one who becomes a physicist.
Oh yeah, he's really good. What's his name?
I think it's Nick. I believe it's Nick.
I think
Yes, I think it's
right.
Nicholas.
Yeah, he is really, because he basically called his life like what he wanted to do when he was little, and it's so cute. And yeah, I think Tony is great. And he wanted to be the jockey, and then he ends up being the cab
Tony was
driver, and
awesome.
he's great. And
I like Bruce also. I think that Bruce had a great life arc, I guess you can say.
Yeah, he was yes, he was really good.
Yeah, he's a teacher, and the fact that he actually reached out to another one of them, to Neil, I believe. Right?
Yeah, and Neil was pretty gripping, especially in the 30s. He was like, "Oh no, is he gonna die?" Like I felt like,
especially since I was reading somewhere that they thought that he wasn't going to make it.
Yeah,
they thought that by the next segment, there was one time where he was really depressed or whatever, and the producers thought that this was going to be the first one who wasn't going to make it to the next one alive.
Yeah, I thought so too, and so that's been really interesting to see. I agree with you. I love it. I think it is brilliant. And Roger Ebert, he said it was the greatest use of film that he'd ever seen. The series.
You unfortunately won't be able to see the next one.
I know, it's true. So very cool.
And one other documentary that I wanted to mention. Yeah. Sorry.
No, please.
I finally saw it. It was a 16-hour Ken Burns film on the Vietnam War.
Oh.
Which was so fascinating.
Uh-huh.
It was amazing to watch. I mean, he really tries to give so many different perspectives on things, because of the whole controversy and stuff. And he really is able to take such a general subject and make it very personal because of all the people that he's interviews throughout the course of this documentary.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, it's a documentary that takes place over 20 years, but it has a whole bunch of individual stories dealing with each of the specific time periods and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
So if someone feels that they have the time and energy, I think that's just a fascinating documentary. It's one of my favorite documentaries.
Mm-hmm.
It really it hit me very hard, on a personal level.
Yeah,
because it was so emotional and it was so great.
Yeah, I've seen his one on World War II and his one on the Civil War, but I don't think I've seen the Vietnam one, so I'll have to check it out because I love him.
The Civil War one is on my list. I haven't gotten a chance to see that yet.
Mm-hmm. It's really good.
He did one on World War II. Okay, maybe
he did one. It was it was really good. I forget. I think it might have just been called The War, something like that.
Possible.
But anyway, it was quite good, and he picked like 4. I've also seen his one on the national parks. He picked like for the World War II one. He picked like 4 different towns in the United States and kind of told the story of the war through the both at home and their units, experiences. That was
wow.
kind of the approach he took. So it was pretty good.
I will definitely look into that. That you've now bumped that up very high on my list.
Yes.
So look forward to seeing that within the next 1,000. Probably within the next. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's called The War.
Yeah.
So yeah, very cool.
Right.
Yeah, have you ever seen? I love documentaries. I'm a huge documentary fan. Have you ever seen Grey Gardens?
No.
That's
I've
one I
heard of it,
recommend.
but I think I saw the movie that they made about it, but I don't think I've seen it.
It's just, if you just want to see like a true kind of fly on the wall of these two people that are just so dynamic and so inspirational in their own way, in my opinion, Big and Little Edie. Their lives are really kind of sad, but they just seem to, I don't know, I just love especially Little Edie, and there's a bittersweet feeling to it, and it's definitely one of my favorites. So they're very weird and eccentric and whatever, and that's kind of part of the appeal, but that's one I would definitely recommend.
Okay.
Let's see. So very cool. And I'm just a huge sucker for any kind of underdog sports documentary. And there was a really good one actually at Sundance called Maiden that I would recommend looking out for. It's about there's this whole yachting race around the world, and it's all about the first all-female team to complete the race in 1978. And there could be nothing that's more boring than sailing or yachting to me, but they did such a good job of like really giving momentum and getting you invested. And they had interviews for everybody, which I appreciated. And it was so they were interweaving archival footage from 1978 with all these new interviews, and it was really good.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was fun. So anyway,
I'll keep an eye out for that also.
Yeah. So so let's talk about 2018 in film and talk about the Oscars in particular. What were some of your favorites that maybe weren't nominated?
I loved Beautiful Boy. I thought that was a great movie with Steve Carell and Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah, I heard that was really good. I haven't gotten to see it yet.
I was just fascinated by that. I was the Chalamet was the one who got a lot of Oscar buzz or awards buzz, and eventually he was snubbed. But I still think that Steve Carell does an even better job. I think Steve Carell is one of those comedic actors that when he's given a really good dramatic role is able to just hit it out of the park. And he was great in this film. It's a film about a family and how they deal with their son's drug addiction.
Yeah, I really wanted to see it. It looked really good. Who plays the mom in that? Do you remember?
Yeah, Moira Turney.
Okay, yeah. It looked really good, and I kind of want Steve Carell to come almost more at this point, come back to comedy. Like, he hasn't made a real, just fun, silly comedy in so long. And like, you made all these dramas. We get it. We know you can. We get it. We know you can do it. You've been nominated. Come back and be funny again. but he can definitely he definitely do the drama for sure. And so I wanted to see that. It looked pretty good, but I my other podcast, I cover Christmas movies for particularly made for TV for Hallmark Channel, and I watched 85 Christmas movies. So a lot of these sort of movies that were released here, at least during the Christmas season, I just still am catching up because it was just Christmas.
And how many of them are Steve Carell in?
Unfortunately, none. But but yeah, I don't know. So I just am catching up on a lot of the Oscar releases and a lot of the end of the year releases that I missed because I was watching so many Christmas movies. But anyway, that's cool. And what are some others? Do you have any others that?
Back to documentaries.
Mm-hmm.
I really loved Three Identical Strangers.
Mm-hmm.
That was so fascinating, and I was actually very upset also that was snubbed.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah, I loved it. It was amazing.
It was scary because it was so amazing. That's
my mouth was agape. Like I successfully went in unspoiled, which I'm so glad I did, because normally I don't care about that kind of thing. But with that, I was so glad that I did, and I could not believe that all was happening, and that like there's still twins out there that don't even know that they are twins. Like it's crazy.
Correct.
Unbelievable. Yeah. It's like they should at least be able to have the results of all of this study. I mean, it seems crazy that it's locked up, but I don't know. Nuts.
Well,
yeah, that's a really good one. I really loved I really loved Won't You Be My Neighbor. I don't know if you got a chance to see that, but
I saw it. It was okay. I didn't think it was spectacular, and I did grow up on Mr. Rogers.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was fascinating. It was a fascinating story about who he was.
Yeah,
but it wasn't. I didn't find it to be so earth-shattering and groundbreaking as some people did.
Yeah, I really loved it. I just felt like it did such a good job of like drawing you into the story and the way they had it sort of paced and structured. Like when he is sitting there in front of Congress, like that whole scene was so amazing to me. I mean, I can't wait until we get the Tom Hanks is going to be playing him in a film version, and that because just the way that crusty old senator was like, you just scored your money. I was like, wow, that was really cool. So I thought that it was, for what it was trying to do, I think it was very well executed for that kind of documentary. Mm-hmm. And I certainly thought it should have been nominated. But in fairness, I haven't seen two of the nominees. But I thought it was better than RBG personally.
Yeah, RBG also, I liked it, but I didn't think it was spectacular. And I didn't find it to be that great. I thought it was okay.
It was fine. I enjoyed it, but yeah.
Right. I'm looking forward to still seeing Free Solo and Hale County.
Yeah. They just barely aired Hale County this week on PBS here on public television, and so I got it on my DVR to watch. So I'm excited to see it because I heard it's actually pretty interesting and experimental. But yeah, Free Solo is pretty nuts. I enjoyed it. It's where I'm glad it was worth nominating. But anyway, yeah, it was a really strong year for documentaries. There were a lot of good ones last year. So I really liked Minding the Gap too. I'm glad that got nominated. I saw that at Sundance actually last year, and I thought it was really moving and pretty amazing that he got all of that footage from such a early time.
Is that it starts off telling one story and then it switches to another story.
Yeah, it becomes a movie about domestic violence and how it impacts these boys and what kind of men they become. I felt like, which is really interesting. So,
correct.
Yeah, very cool. Well, yeah, I really loved. I don't know if you got a chance to see Lean on Pete. That was a movie that I really loved. It might be a little slow for, but I just thought it was so moving, and I really think Charlie Plummer is a really good new talent. That he was in that Ridley Scott movie, All the Money in the World one. I thought he was solid in that, and he's great in Lean on Pete. That was one, and I was bummed that Paddington 2 didn't get anything. Like I would have liked to have it gotten like a visual effects, or because I just loved that movie. I thought it was so sweet. But oh well, what are you gonna do?
I mean, My favorite film of 2018 though was Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, it's so good. That was my second favorite movie. So yeah, I loved that.
What was your first favorite?
My favorite was Mary Poppins Returns. I thought it was just
I haven't seen
so
that yet.
I thought it was so delightful. It captured that old-fashioned Disney magic to me. And I haven't been a big fan of these remakes that they've been doing, but for me, this was the one that they got right. I thought it had such heart. I loved the choreography and the music and all the performances, and I just loved it. So, but I loved Into the Spider-Verse as well. I mean, they're totally different movies, but
completely different, no question.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but for me, Into the Spider-Verse was something that just it completely blew me away because of the way they were able to take various forms of animation and put them all together. And the story itself is also great.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought it had a ton of heart. I loved that scene where his dad is talking to him outside the door. That scene was great. I think the whole thing with his uncle, I thought that really worked. And so it wasn't just the flashy animation. I think the story was really good and it was really funny too. So I completely agree with you. And I think it's really going to be a game changer for animation. I've already seen there's talks that they're doing there's talks that they're doing a Batman animated film with kind of a similar style, which would be amazing.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
Yeah. And I loved Leave No Trace. I thought that was just I saw it at Sundance, and then I saw it 2 other times. I just thought it was such a beautiful coming of age story of a girl realizing she doesn't have to make the same choices as her father. And at the end, when she decides to stay, I was just so proud of her. Woohoo, way to go. And that was one that I loved from the year as well, that wasn't nominated for anything. But
okay, man, I like that one. I didn't think it was that great.
Mm-hmm.
I thought something was missing. Moved along too slowly.
I can understand that, because a lot of the movies that hit big at Sundance were ignored at the Oscars. But I also a little hidden gem that I don't think that kind of flew under the radar that I loved from last year is called Juliet Naked, which sounds risque, but it's actually not. It was really good. It's based on this Nick Hornby novel, and I love Nick Hornby novels and movies. And it's about this woman played by Rose Byrne, who kind of comes to realize that she wishes she had chosen to have children, but she made the choice to kind of not, when she was younger. And she's been dating for 13 years this guy who's obsessed with this band, with this singer. And he hosts this podcast and all these message boards and chats where they dissect every single song and what does it mean and every single line of lyrics. And one day she ends up stumbling upon the actual singer in one of the message boards, and it was played by Ethan Hawke, and they end up having this. They end up communicating with each other, and then they end up meeting. And it was I thought it did such a good job of kind of talking about obsession, but also sort of standing up for all of us that are maybe a little obsessed with some of these things. It's interesting because the Ethan Hawke character has all of these children, that he's trying his best to be a dad, and he has more children than he knows what to do with. And the Rose Byrne character is wishing she had decided to have children. So you have these different perspectives, and it was really good. And I wish more people had gotten to see it. So
interesting. Okay,
that's one I recommend checking out.
Get on my list, and you've now helped bump that up a bit.
Woohoo! All right. So let's talk about the Oscars. So we have,
which obviously was most of the Oscar movies are missing from some of our favorite movies for 2018.
I don't have any of the Best Picture nominees in my top 10.
I do. I actually have 2 of them.
Ooh, okay, good. Yeah. So what were your 2 favorites of the 8 nominees?
A Star Is Born and Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, interesting. What did you like about both of those?
Well, A Star Is Born, I've seen all four versions of it. I actually watched them all together, in a row, just to be able to compare and contrast everything. And I thought that Bradley Cooper did an amazing job bringing the story to today, to take it originally and build on that story, and then in 2018 be able to give us a very good update of this timeless story, basically. About what can how do you falling rising stars and falling stars, who pass in the night, basically, that type of thing. And the music was amazing. I mean, I'm shocked that "Shallow" is the only song that gets any type of recognition in that movie that are great.
I agree with you. I really love it. It's my second favorite of the nominees, Star Is Born. I really loved it. I think the key for me is that movie had to have great chemistry, and they did have great chemistry. And the songs were so good. In my opinion, I think it is the best singing in a mainstream release since Dreamgirls. That's what I think.
Well, I'm not a big fan of Dreamgirls, so I would agree with you on that.
But the singing was really good. I mean, Jennifer Hudson could sing, I think, and Beyonce was a good singer.
Right. Right.
But just it was so good, because so many of these musicals that I go to, I'm like, ugh, why didn't they hire a good singer? Like, why do I have to listen to this? Like, it's just frustrating. I mean, there's so many, but this they got amazing singing. It was so good. And
as a first time director, I think Bradley Cooper showed that he really has what it takes.
Yeah.
To be able to put together a movie like this. And one of the things that's pretty annoying is that this is the first time that at the Directors Guild, it was the first time that someone was nominated in both the first time director crop and best director, and he didn't win first time director. Someone won first time director. So like you're saying, okay, on the one hand, here's someone who among the top 5 best directors.
That's so weird
overall. But when you're dealing with something that's just the first time director, the only one of 5 who was nominated for director, but he still lost.
That is really weird.
So I think with the backlash that A Star has gotten, I mean, it peaked too early.
Yeah.
When it came out that was going to go and was going to sweep the Oscars.
Yeah.
And right now they're going to be lucky to get more than just best song.
Yep. Yeah, it's very true. There's always one every year that they, like you said, peaks too soon, whether it's like Boyhood was everything's going to win and it peaked too soon. La La Land, same thing. And then people are like, oh, it's winning everything, I'm not going to vote for it. And you're like, wait a minute. If it deserves to win, vote for it. If you don't like it, that's fine. But yeah, I really loved it. I thought it was great. And I was happy that it did so well at the box office, because I think it was a little bit more of a artistic film, a little bit more of it. So for it to have that kind of mainstream success is always nice to see. That's not only the super movies and the whatever that do so well. So that made me happy of the
right.
So and they had that whole kerfuffle, but they were going to do the popular movie award or whatever. It's like, you obviously don't need to do that, because we have Black Panther and A Star Is Born and Bohemian Rhapsody, who both made huge at the box office, getting nominated. So it's interesting. So
you asked why Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, what did you like about that?
It has to do with Rami Malek's performance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was really transformed himself into Freddie Mercury, and I wasn't really looking forward to the movie. when
Mm-hmm.
when I saw it, because I was like, just give me another musical biopic and whatever. But they did some really nice things there, and showed that they can take the normal biopic and make it feel even more emotional and personal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of it, but I can understand why it worked for you and so many other people. It was a little too corny for my taste. I wanted it to be a little, I don't know, there were just moments like, I don't know, like the fact that, like that whole scene in the office where with the Mike Myers guy, the producer, like that was just so corny to me. I felt like I wish the script had been
Mm-hmm.
a little bit better. The script was a little pedestrian in my opinion, but it did have I think the concerts were incredible, and I do agree
Well,
that Malik was strong. My favorite of the nominees was Roma. It was just so moving to me. I thought the cinematography was stunning, but I really just thought going on this sort of journey with Cleo, and particularly anything with her pregnancy, was just so devastating, and I was just really I was just bawling, and it really got me. And it just felt very intimate and very close to me. So that one was my favorite. I have it at 11 for the year for my ranking. I have Stars Born at 15.
Roma, I actually saw it the day it came out on Netflix,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought that visually it is such a stunning movie, but I couldn't get into the story. I felt that the story was really weak,
Mm-hmm.
and that in my it a lot. I'm still trying to figure out why everyone is falling head over heels over this movie. Again, visually, it's amazing. He really
Mm-hmm.
does. I've read some articles about the production design, and
Mm-hmm.
how every single thing in the movie is based on certain things, and they're trying to evoke certain emotions
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. And I thought that was done really well, but the story just, you need to have a movie with a story. It
I
was
felt
just
like
very
it
weak.
is very slice of life kind of story, and I feel like it seems like from whatever you're not as big a fan of that, but I just felt like I really was able to sort of walk in her shoes, and I felt such connection to her character that I just enjoyed following her character, and I was just, when she loses the baby, I just thought that was so devastating. And so it's a different kind of experience than like a narrative like, say, the Bohemian Rhapsody has, where there's like it's a different kind of movie, and I get it wouldn't be for everybody's taste, but I felt like I enjoyed spending time with that character. So I don't know if that makes sense, but
Okay, all
yeah.
right, I can understand that. I mean, I must say, looking at the 8 nominees, I can't really say that I'm enthusiastic about any of them.
Uh-huh.
There's not one of them that this is a movie that should win Best Picture. Most years you have one or two that are like that. For me, at least this year, I didn't feel that in any of them.
Mm-hmm.
I have a strong feeling that Roma's gonna go and it's gonna have the most wins, and I think it's gonna win Best Picture also. It's gonna be probably the first time. My prediction is it's gonna be the first time that a foreign language film will also win Best Picture along with Best Foreign Language Film.
Yeah.
We might be surprised. You never know, because of the way they do the these days.
Yeah, I would love if Shoplifters won for Best Foreign Film, because it actually made my top 10. I love it. But you might not like it. It's very slice of life. It's very, uh, but but yeah, I do think. I mean,
Don't
Netflix has poured
like
money.
slice of life, but you have to have a story.
I don't know. Like, if I'm connected enough to a character, I can enjoy being with that character, and it's a different experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Correct.
And
I definitely agree.
but well, I don't know. Anyway, I love Shoplifters, and so I would be really happy. I love the director of Shoplifters. His name is Hirokazu Kurita, and I think he's just a master at what he does. And so that would be really cool. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that Roma is going to win. I mean, Netflix has poured money into that campaign, and unfortunately, that's oftentimes the most determining factor. It shouldn't be, but
Correct.
It is oftentimes. So.
Correct.
So yeah, my next favorite was Green Book. I know it's gotten a lot of pushback, but I really thought it was a nice story about an unlikely friendship, and it made me want to be
I
a
thought
better.
it was a nice friendship, and that was it. I didn't think it was anything more than that. It was done well, but it doesn't feel as if it brought anything new to the whole ideas of the 1960s.
Mm-hmm. I had it at 20, so it wasn't like my favorite movie of the year, but I don't know. I just thought it did what it was trying to do really well.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah. And then and I feel like a lot of the pushback, here's my opinion on Green Book. I feel like that a lot of people kind of want it to be more of a message movie than it actually is. Like, we had a lot of sort of protest films this year, whether it be Black Klansman, The Hate U Give, Blind Spotting. There were a number of them, and I liked those films. And those films were definitely like protest films. They had a strong message, and in my opinion, like, Green Book that's not what it is. It's just a story about a friendship between these two people. It's not trying to change the world or be a protest movie or speak out against Trump or anything like that. It's just a simple little movie. And so I don't know.
That's great.
But
yeah,
but
you mentioned Black Klansman. Black Klansman, I really liked Black Klansman until the epilogue.
Yeah.
I think the epilogue, because exactly what you said right now, it made it into an anti-Trump film, an anti-establishment film, and stuff like that. Instead of telling the story as it was, the absurdity of it all, which is amazing.
Yeah, I agree with you about that 100%. I felt like that, like, Spike Lee couldn't get out of the way of his own movie. That it would have been much better. Like, we're not stupid. We get it. We understand and maybe he just wasn't confident that people would get it. And so it was like, oh, we got to spell it out for you. But we get it.
I don't like movies that they need to spoon feed everything to us.
Yeah.
Which brings me to Vice, which is why I've never been a big fan of Adam McKay. Because, like, The Big Short, I hated because they're trying to spoon feed everything to us and saying, okay, everyone is stupid. This is how we're going to explain things to you.
Yeah.
And Vice also, from the political perspective.
So I shouldn't have said that Bohemian Rhapsody. Yeah. I shouldn't have said that Bohemian Rhapsody was my least favorite of the nominees, because that's not true, because Vice is the least favorite of the nominees for me. I felt like it was full-on propaganda. Like, it was so manipulative because at least The Big Short was kind of just like cheeky explaining stuff, where I felt like this was like they would put this really traumatic image out and then then manipulate you into believing whatever then they said next. And I'm like, I'm not like a huge Dick Cheney fan, but I don't care what you're talking about. That's what propaganda does. It uses images to then try to convince you of whatever it is. And I just thought they tried to disguise it as a comedy, but in my opinion, I hated it. I thought it was terrible.
I can't say it was terrible, but because it did have its points, but it wasn't as effective as it could have been.
Yeah, for sure. How do you feel about Black Panther getting nominated?
I think it was a good movie. I don't think it was deserving of because it's not Best Picture.
Mm-hmm.
This that has added to the list of Best Pictures because people are trying to show how diverse they want to be with voting.
Mm-hmm.
people are looking from racial perspectives and gender perspectives and all that stuff. So sometimes there are nominations that move forward because of these reasons, and not because it's a movie that is deserving to be in that particular category.
Mm. Yeah, I mean,
again, I thought Avengers: Infinity War was much better than Black Panther. You know, I don't think Black Panther has this simple message. You know, that's so great that needs to, you know, the fact that Black Panther is the first superhero movie to be nominated for Best Picture. Okay, when the whole reason that they changed the way that they do Oscar voting is because of The Dark Knight, you know, 10 years ago, where that a nomination for Best Picture. But when you look at The Dark Knight and you look at Black Panther, okay, there's so much that is different between the two of them. I mean, The Dark Knight actually deals with, you know, good versus evil, you know, it questions and stuff like that. Ask those questions.
Yeah, I actually think it does.
This is a fun action movie. It was a fun movie. I'm not saying it was a bad movie. I just don't think yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I have it at 43. So obviously it's not even close to my top of my list, but it is my favorite of the mainstream superhero movies outside of Spider-Verse. Obviously that's my favorite. But the thing I liked about it is that I felt like it actually did have something to say. I felt like the conflict between Killmonger and T'Challa was that Killmonger thought it was shameful that they were hiding Wakanda and hiding the titanium from all these countries that were in need and that were getting people that were being persecuted, and that Wakanda could have been an ambassador to then go out and help all of these nations. Whereas T'Challa felt like, we need to protect this. We need to protect Wakanda. We need to hide. And that's what his father thought. And that's why, and so there was a conflict between these two characters. And I thought that's what made him a really strong villain. And you really understood his perspective. Like, he kind of took it to a dark place, but that's what makes a good villain, is somebody that takes a true principle, and then, because he wanted to then go and be a military activist.
Right. Michael B. Jordan does an amazing job,
Yeah.
and I think that Killmonger is a better character than T'Challa is in this movie. And he's actually the one that I was surprised was snubbed. You know, I think that Michael B. Jordan was the one who should have been nominated for actor, because he does a great job as the villain.
Yeah,
again,
he does a really good job. Yeah.
The movie as a whole just doesn't do it for me when you put picture nominee.
Yeah, I'm fine with it being nominated, because I did think it was a pretty good, I guess I look at things, is it successful in doing what it's trying to do? And I think for the most part, aside from some wonky CGI, it was successful in doing what it was trying to do. And you could say that it's obviously not in my it's 43 on my list, so obviously I would not have nominated it. But because I did like it and I thought it was really successful in doing what it was trying to do, I'm okay with it being nominated. But I would have nominated a lot of different movies ahead of it that I liked better. I liked Creed 2 better. I liked
42.
Yeah, 42 better. That's right. I liked Mission Impossible Fallout better. There were a lot that I liked better. So I don't know. It's an interesting thing.
Okay, but yeah, Mission Impossible Fallout is not a movie that you would think to put as Best Picture, right?
No, but I do like the fact that we are starting, even though I wasn't crazy about like Bohemian Rhapsody or I do like the fact that we are sort of expanding, I think, to a little bit more commercial this year. I mean, I guess we haven't in past years, because there's something like Hidden Figures that was a big hit, American Sniper, big hit, but those still kind of feel like Oscar-y movies. And so it's kind of cool, I feel like, this year. But I don't know. I mean, Mission Impossible was a really good movie. It did what it was trying to do very well. And so if it had been nominated, I wouldn't have complained, personally.
Okay.
Whereas, like, I feel like other movies where I'm like, why is that being nominated? Because I don't feel like it did what it was trying to do very well. Like, here's one that I had a bunch of unpopular opinions this year. Most of them weren't nominated, but I wasn't a big fan of First Man. I felt like I didn't get to know. What's that?
Most people weren't.
Yes. I felt like I didn't get to know Neil Armstrong hardly at all. I felt like he was just flat the entire movie. It looked pretty. But I just felt like his character was exactly the same at the beginning of the movie as it was at the end of the movie. I didn't understand why he wanted to go to the moon. I felt no motivation from him. And so I just felt kind of disengaged, and like I was just watching just pretty images, but I don't know. It was frustrating to me.
Right. I mean, the biggest problem that I had with First Man was that I'm personally a fan of the NASA missions and the Apollo missions and stuff like that. So I've seen a lot of stuff about it. I mean, one of my favorite miniseries is From the Earth to the Moon, which is from Tom Hanks and Ron Howard. You know, they did such a job in that. But so I know who most Apollo astronauts were and what they did. You know, some of the personalities and stuff like that from different things that I've seen or read or whatever. And I went to see First Man with my wife, who doesn't know anything about these type of things, and she was so confused. And I had to explain things. I needed to explain things to her because of past knowledge on things. Already was not a good sign, because it means that someone who doesn't. The idea that, in my opinion, when you go see a movie, you want to be able to understand a movie from a standalone point.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't need prior knowledge. You don't, you don't need to be psychic or anything like that. You need to be able to see the story for what it is. Okay. Obviously, if it's a sequel, that's a different story, because the sequel will take stuff,
right.
From the first movie, stuff like that. Something like this is supposed to be completely standalone. They're supposed to be able to explain everything to you that you want to know. They're not supposed to take it into. They're not supposed to assume that you know anything. And this film did that. I had to explain to my wife who Deke Slayton was. Okay.
Yeah.
And why he was in charge, and there's stuff that you know from seeing The Right Stuff and whatever. But again, as a standalone, it was just missing so much. It gives you the feeling of an astronaut. There's no question about that. When you're sitting in the, when you see him sitting in the cockpit and it starts vibrating because it's going through, that was really cool.
Yeah.
But from a story perspective, it was just lacking so much.
Yeah, I agree with you.
When I saw it, I gave it an 8, and when I think about it, it didn't deserve that. And I can't give it. I can't change my rating on something until I see it again, and I have no desire to see it again, which is a problem.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. I when you think of the great space movies, like you think of Apollo 13 and how we were so clear on Jim Lovell's motivation, even that's that scene where he covers up the moon with his thumb, and you were just so clear on that motivation. And then when he's up in the, and then he covers up the earth with his thumb, like that was so good. And also just how like rich that movie is. So like you come to know like Gary Sinise's character, which is like a fairly minor character, or even Kevin Bacon's character, way better than I felt like I got to know Neil Armstrong's character as the lead character. Like you got to know all the people at Mission Control in Apollo 13. You like when they were trying to do that vacuum hose thing, like you felt it for the people in Mission Control. And Ed Harris's character was really good. And like you said, The Right Stuff is another great example where it's like so many characters, but you feel invested in all of this journey. And so, that was one that I found frustrating. I also had an unpopular opinion on Widows, that a lot of people loved that movie, but I felt like it wasn't successful in doing either. Oh, okay. Well, I won't spoil it, but I didn't feel like it was successful in doing either of the things that it was trying to do. And it had very good cast, but that was an unpopular opinion I had. I didn't really like that one. And I didn't really like the Ballad of Buster Scruggs. I felt like they were all just kind of forgettable shorts from the Coen brothers. You think about their great, I feel like with the Coen brothers recently, they have been doing a good job of creating homages to different things, like with Hail Caesar to classic Hollywood, but then the story isn't like up to snuff. And I think about their old movies that you think about something like Raising Arizona, which was so funny. And it wasn't just like we've got the setting right, or Fargo. It wasn't just like, oh, look, we created effective South Dakota. It had like a great character and really a great script. And so I thought it was just, they weren't like awful, but they were just very forgettable to me. I'm not going to remember them. But the other very unpopular opinion I have is I was not a fan of If Beale Street Could Talk. I thought that it was very frustrating because, yeah, I like slice of life movies where I'm following the characters around, but the only way those movies work is if I feel like it's an authentic person that I really like. This is a real person who could have really existed, and I'm really invested in who they are. This movie, I felt like I was watching a play, and the script felt so artificial and phony to me, and it was very irritating. The whole time I was watching it, I was just like, nobody talks like that. No one talks that way. And like, a lot of people are comparing it to Fences, and I'm like, okay, well, the thing with Fences is I at least felt like I got to know who those characters were. But here, they didn't even have that benefit because it was usually, because at least that has this based on this play, this famous play that's very verbose. In this, it was mostly just sort of images, and I had no idea who these people were. And then they talk, and it was like, it didn't feel authentic to me. I didn't feel like I got to know who they were. And so it was very frustrating. And I really was not a fan of If Beale Street Could Talk. So that was
okay. I definitely agree with you on that.
Oh, you did?
I was looking forward to seeing it. I was very much looking forward to seeing it, and I was extremely disappointed.
Oh, yeah.
And I still am trying to figure out why everyone is saying Regina King was amazing in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
She was good. I didn't think she was amazing because she wasn't in it for long enough.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for supporting, she was the best part of the movie, but aside from the music was good. But yeah, no, she wouldn't be my pick. I mean, she did a good job with what was asked of her. But yeah, I agree with you. And I just walked out being very frustrated because I was like, it has all these good pieces, but I just didn't feel like it was well done as far as the movie.
Right. I mean, I was frustrated from the perspective that I was saying, okay, what did I miss that everyone else seems to think, you know? Me
too. Yeah, so it's interesting. We all have our unpopular opinions. Who do you think, who are your predictions for, you think Roma will win for the other major categories? You think Corona will win Best Director?
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind about that.
Yeah.
Actor, it's between Malick and Bale.
Really? Bale, huh?
That's what I think. Yeah.
Interesting.
Because he's just such a transformation there.
Yeah.
But I mean, personally, if I was voting, I would vote for Cooper. I think Cooper does the best job there. But we all know he's not going to get it.
Right.
So it'll be between Bale and Malick, and I think Malick is going to get it in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Supporting. What do you think about actor?
I think Richard E. Grant might win because he has just been all.
No, actor.
Actor. Yeah, let's see who all yeah, I do agree. I think that that either I could see maybe Viggo Mortensen, but like there's so much I feel like not liking that movie right now. But yeah, I think Rami Malek will probably win, and he deserves it. He did a good job.
Yeah, no question about that. Okay,
Uh,
let's go to best supporting. What
yes.
were you saying about?
I think that Richard E. Grant might actually be kind of an underdog win. He's been all over social media and been so positive and so just enjoying the whole experience. And I think a lot of people actually did really like. I haven't seen it. The Can You Ever Forgive Me? I don't know. I could just see that being like the one sort of
I
surprise.
saw it last week. Actually.
Oh, you did? What do you think?
Yeah, I saw it last week. I liked it. I thought he does a nice job with the role. I still think that Marshall Ali is gonna walk away with another Oscar for this.
Yeah, it's a strong list. I mean, Sam Rockwell, he does not. What is that? Get that out of there. But I mean, I would love to see Sam Elliott win because I just love him, and I thought he was great. It was a really great supporting role.
Yeah, so would I, but I don't think I will. If I was voting, I would be voting for Sam Elliott also.
Yeah, and I actually loved Adam Driver in BlacKkKlansman. I thought he was great. And so I was happy to see that he got nominated because I felt like he was kind of under the radar. But yeah, you're probably right. Mahershala Ali will probably win. And I thought he was great in the role. But I could just see Richard E. Grant as a dark horse, I guess, coming in and surprising people.
I remember correct.
For an actress, what do you think it will be, Regina King?
Feeling that it will be Regina King because Emma Stone and Rachel Weisz are going to be splitting their votes.
Yeah.
But the person to look out for is Marina Tavira,
yeah.
whatever her name, however pronounce her name, from Roma. I have a feeling that all the love for Roma is going to help her in this one because this is a category. This isn't a category where you have a clear front runner. And I think that there are going to be people who say that, okay, Roma's going to be winning Best Picture and Best whatever. That's some sort of
acting
also. And the fact that it came out of nowhere to get this nomination also says something.
Mm. And Regina King hasn't won that many. Yeah. I could see it. I could see that.
Right. So that will be a nice surprise.
Do you think that Spider-Verse will pull it off? Do you think it?
I don't think there's any doubt.
Yeah. I think it would be quite an uproar if Disney were to win with it. Even though I like both those films actually a lot, I
like them also. I like them both also, but not as much.
Yeah.
Wait, but what about actress? What do you think about actress?
Oh yes, so actress, I think Glenn Close will win. I just feel like it's her year.
So I don't think she deserves to win for this role, but there's a lot of reasons why she's going to win it. First of all, have you seen the movie The Wife?
I haven't. I heard she's good, but it's not that great.
She's good. It's not that great, but the message goes along a lot with the whole Me Too movement, which will also help her to win here. And plus, a lot of people feel that she's been deserving for years to win, and she finally will win.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. Like with like Julianne Moore with Still Alice. No, that was a good movie, but there was also sort of a feeling of like you've been nominated a bunch of times before. This is your year. We're gonna.
Yeah, but that year. What's her name for Gone Baby should have won. Can't remember. You know who I'm talking about, though, right?
It was that Amy Ryan.
Gone Girl. Rosamund
Gone
Pike.
Girl. Yeah, Rosamund Pike.
Gone Girl.
Yeah.
Rosamund Pike.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. Have you gotten into all this whole controversy? Like, so they just announced today that they are going to give out all the awards. It's just like I said today. I thought, there's going to be the Oscar nominated movie next year about the behind the scenes drama of the Oscars.
Seriously.
It's been ridiculous.
I actually didn't know that they had announced that, but I'm very glad that they did.
Yeah.
Because I think if they were going to say, okay, these are awards we're going to do during commercials. Come on, what's the bullshit?
Yeah.
Sorry, what's
Yeah.
the idea is that people want to see the show for the awards. It doesn't matter which awards. These are the awards that are given. So why
Yeah.
should they say this award is less important than any other award? And then so you know what? Cut some of the stupid skits if you
Agreed.
want. That's your whole idea. So there are things that you can cut besides
Yeah.
cutting awards and say, okay, your award is going to be given during the commercials, and then we're just going to tell everyone afterwards what it was.
I agree. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, they have scenes like, them giving out pizza and stuff. Like, you're just like, get rid of all of that. It's ridiculous. And, last time they went to, I had a whole bunch of people at that Wrinkle in Time screening. You're just like, what is going on? And I mean, of all the things to cut, cinematography, what on earth? Like, I mean, I guess I could kind of see if they wanted to make a whole separate ceremony for the shorts, and do it as its own thing. I guess that would maybe make sense. But I'm glad that they're keeping it the way it is. But cinematography, what? That's crazy. I mean, I don't know, nuts. So it's a weird thing. So anyway, yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens, and I'll be curious to hear your thoughts on your blog and on Twitter and everything. And when you get that, get the 5,000th review, that's going to be amazing. That's congratulations. That is such a incredible accomplishment.
I appreciate it.
Way to go. I think that's amazing. So thanks so much for taking the time to talk with me. And it was really fun. We definitely should do it again. Hope we should do it before your 6,000th review. I remember make it a yearly thing.
That sounds like a deal.
Okay, good. All right, great. Well, how can people find you as far as your blog and all of that fun stuff?
So my blog is MovieRob.wordpress.com. So you can see everything there. My Twitter account is RealMovieRob.
Great.
Those are the way to get in touch with me. Or you can send me an email at rob@movierob.net.
Great. I'll have that all in the description section. People can totally check it out. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews all over social media and on iTunes and YouTube. And my other podcast is Hallmarkies Pod. You can find that all over the internet as well. And so thanks so much, and we will talk again soon. Bye.